Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're talking about the real cost of chronic low back pain. And trust me, it's not what you think. We're going to pull back the curtain on all those quiet, sneaky expenses that build up into a financial avalanche.
Okay, let's just jump right in, because this quote, it really gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? See, it's not about one big, scary medical bill. It's more like a slow leak, a steady drain that you don't even notice until suddenly you're totally overwhelmed.
And that's the word we've got to focus on, stacking. You know how it is. A heating pad here, you take a day off work there, you try some new supplement. None of it seems like a big deal on its own. But when you put it all together, whoosh, it builds momentum. So what we're going to do is give you a kind of map to help you see that avalanche coming, and more importantly, how to get out of its way.
All right, so the big mindset shift here is to stop looking at this as a bunch of separate bills. It's not. It's a system, a really interconnected system where one thing triggers another. Think of it like a chain reaction, right? A flare-up in your back triggers spending on meds, which messes with your sleep, which then costs you a day at work.
And it turns out there are seven key areas where these costs hide. We're going to call them the hidden bills that really make up the true annual cost of this thing. And just seeing them all laid out together, that's the first huge step to getting back in the driver's seat.
So here they are. This is the whole shebang. And what's really wild is that if you're only looking at your doctor's bills and copays, you're probably missing like half the story. Seriously, up to 50%. It's these other buckets where the real financial damage is happening, completely under the radar.
Okay, bill number one, medications. Look, we all pay attention to our prescription cost, right? But what about everything else? The gels, the patches, the supplements. It is so easy to spend hundreds of dollars a year on this stuff without even thinking about it. They call this the OTC drift. It's just this slow, silent creep that eats away at your budget.
And then there's physical therapy. Man, this one can add up fast. You look at the cost of 1 or 2 sessions a week, and it feels manageable, right? But stretch that out over a whole year, and suddenly you're looking at a pretty massive expense, especially if your treatment plan is kind of open-ended without a clear finish line.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about the at-home stuff. Because this is where things can get really emotional and, honestly, pretty impulsive. I mean, when you're hurting, you just want relief, like right now. And guess what? The internet is always open. I mean, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? That feeling, that late-night, hope-fueled shopping spree for some gadget that promises to be the miracle cure. And it's so true. You're not just buying a massage gun. You're trying to buy certainty. You're shopping for a feeling of control when everything feels out of control.
All right, now we get to the really big stuff. The costs that don't show up on a credit card statement, but can actually be way more expensive than all the medical bills combined. We're talking about the toll this takes on your work and your mental health.
And this is so important. We tend to think about unpaid sick days, but what about all the days you do show up? The days you're physically there, but your brain is somewhere else because of the pain. The source material has this incredible line, moving like a haunted coat rack. Wow, I mean, does that not perfectly capture that feeling of just not being able to function? That's a huge hidden cost. And this all feeds into itself, right? It's a classic vicious cycle. Your pain messes up your sleep. Then, because you're exhausted, you're way more sensitive to the pain. A bad week of sleep means you're reaching for more meds, you're skipping the exercises you know you should do, and your mind just spirals. It's a perfect storm that makes everything else more expensive.
So, what do we do about all this? How do you actually get back in control? Well, it's not about just stopping all care to save money. No way. It's about being smarter. It's about getting the right care in the right order. It's shifting from that panicked, reactive spending to having a real, proactive plan. Okay, take imaging, for example. MRIs are expensive. This little decision-making tool is brilliant. It forces you to ask one simple, powerful question before you go for a scan. What will we do differently based on the results? What decision does this actually enable? Asking that can save you a ton of money on scans that just tell you what you already know, that your spine is, aging, which is normal.
And then there's this one. Oh boy, we've all felt this temptation, right? That shiny new program, that new practitioner who promises they have the secret. The source has a great name for this, the try-everything tax. It's the price you pay for constantly chasing novelty instead of focusing on progress. The way to avoid this tax? Stick with one solid plan long enough to see if it actually works, instead of jumping from one thing to the next.
So here's the game plan. This is your roadmap for cutting costs without cutting corners on your recovery.
You give a new plan a set amount of time, like say 4 weeks. You focus on active stuff like movement, and you track one simple thing, just one, like how far you can walk or how many hours you sleep. Suddenly, you're not just guessing anymore. You're using data to make small, smart decisions that actually lead to progress.
Okay, so the best part about all of this, you can literally start getting a handle on it right now, in the next 15 minutes. You don't need a spreadsheet or a degree in finance. All you need is a simple, clear place to start.
And this is it. This is your 15-minute plan. It's so simple, it's brilliant. You're just going to quickly estimate your biggest costs, circle the top 2, and then pick one thing to measure for the next 3 weeks. That's it. In just a few minutes, you can take all that vague, overwhelming anxiety about pain and money and turn it into a concrete, totally manageable action plan. You get focus, you get a deadline, and that is just incredibly powerful.
And really, it all comes down to this one question. This is the big takeaway. It's not about finding what's cheapest. It's about finding what's smartest. Asking yourself, what's the simplest path forward that brings down my pain and my spending? That one question can guide all your decisions from here on out, and it's what can empower you to have a much calmer, less expensive, and hopefully a much more comfortable year ahead.